Hello, let's discuss the background of Bible translator Ferrar Fenton and his Bible translation, the Holy Bible, in modern English. Ferrar Fenton lived from 1832 to 1920 and was a child prodigy who read the Bible in the original Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic from the age of 7 and spent a half-century producing his translation, the Holy Bible in modern English, first published complete in 1903. Wikipedia says of him, quote, Fenton had acquired a great learning and understanding of ancient Sanskrit, Greek, Hebrew, and Latin through being a distinguished member of the Royal Asiatic Society, whose members on the RAS website are said to be highly accomplished and notable scholars. As a tradesman, he also had access to numerous ancient Septuagint and Masoretic manuscripts to aid in his translation. And he also used Protestant Reformation scholar Brian Walton's Polyglot Bible of 1657 for minimal referencing. This Bible has remained in print ever since, and copies can be purchased through Bible Blessings Christian Resources in the Specialty Bible section. Much more information about this Bible and its author are found at this link. The following information about Ferrar Fenton, published in 1893, is quite interesting and serves as a good background to his basic theological understanding. The article below begins with an assessment of the Ferrar Fenton Bible. Professor Blackie of Edinburgh, to whom the first edition of the work was dedicated, writes of it, quote, There can nothing but good arise from a person of independent thinking making a new translation of the epistles of Paul, as novelties of phrase largely, even though not conveying any absolutely new idea, shake people out of an unthinking posture and stimulate inquiry, unquote. A correspondent in England who wrote to author Charles A. L. Totten shared several letters received by her from Mr. Ferrar Fenton himself, and from which we may be pardoned for making the following quotations. Quote, Poor man as I now am, if you had sent me a 50-pound note, it would not have given me more delight than the book, Professor Totten's Study No. 1, you have sent. I am a believer in the identity. As a fact, 35 years ago, when I was a devotee of the so-called higher criticism and an infidel, not only in Christianity, but in or with regard to all religions, or religion whatsoever, I became convinced of the Hebrew origin of the British people as a mere question of scientific, philological ethnology. I was then an ardent classical and Oriental student, read with delight in Oriental literature and the science of languages, and was struck with the fact that Cymraeg, Cymry tongue, vulgarly called Welsh, and Arabic and Hebrew were allied, and following up the research as a matter of scientific investigation and by the regular methods of science, I satisfied myself that we were of the race of Shem, and that Max Müller, von Meyer, and the Germans were wrong in asserting we were Aryans. I accordingly wrote some short essays on the matter which attracted the notice of the late Sir Thomas Phillips, the chief trustee of the British Museum, and the greatest English scholar of our century. He and Karl von Baer, the learned German professor, declared that I had discovered a new field in philology, and Sir Thomas Phillips offered me the position of secretary to aid him in editing archaeological and Oriental works. After many years, I accidentally was asked by an illiterate lady if the English were descendants from the Jews. She had read yesterday in a magazine that they were. No, I replied, they are not descended from the Jews, but they are the sons or descendants of Abraham. They are the posterity of the 10 tribes, who fled before the Assyrian invaders, according to Isaiah, to Tarshish or Spain, and the Isles of the Sea or Isles of the West. At that time I had become a Christian, and took up the study again and became convinced of its vital bearing on our existence and history as a race. Since then I have written considerably on the matter, illustrating it in the popular style, but on purely scientific grounds and methods. My articles in Britain's Inheritance magazine raised attention from all parts of the world where Englishmen are, and brought correspondence to its editor, my late dear friend Thomas Almond. What we identists need to do is to win the literary and learned world, and I applied to them as a scholar to scholars. The two evidences of language and archaeology supply us with matchless weapons of war, and our enemies are the enemies of the Israel of God. End of quote by Ferrar Fenton. On the Specialty Bibles page on BibleBlessings.net, click on each book title for two separate in-depth reviews of the Ferrar Fenton Bible. I think you'll be impressed with its many features not found in other Bibles. Thanks for watching.